Okay, so I've got a full room, and you're in for an hour with a designer. So if you want to leave, I will respect that. No one. Okay. I'm going to close the doors now. Okay? So you heard my name. It's a funny name to pronounce. Some Portuguese, some German in between. What I do every day at this company called OutSystems is to design applications for the entire world, basically. You see, we have three design teams, which is pretty cool at OutSystems. One handles the product. It's a low-code company. We do have a product. We're a product company, and we have a dedicated team for that. We have a second team that does internal applications. That's pretty exciting too. We're getting bigger. We have our needs, internal needs, also for partners. So we do have another dedicated team for that. And then there's us. And we're kind of, as Stephen Hay was saying a while ago, we were thinking different. We're doing things differently. We're kind of the crazy ones inside that company. Why? Because, our job is to help our customers to use our platform, which means that we will go wherever the customer is, help him out to create applications from scratch. And applications that can be about banking, insurance, satellites, that kind of thing. So it never gets boring. The thing is, time. The thing is time. Time is a complicated thing. So today I'm gonna walk you through the craziness of my reality and the craziness of having to kind of deliver applications on short periods of time, and how sometimes we're feeling like we're delivering the babies, but we're not really taking care of the babies. So we need to rely on who comes next. And who comes next is the development phase. We'll get to that. But the idea is that why should a front-end developer learn about design or even do some design stuff, make design decisions? Let's see if you should or if you shouldn't. But the fact is, most of you, please let me know if the sound goes bad, because the mic goes. So the question that you make very frequently is, where's the freaking designer when I need him, right? You do need to make design decisions throughout the cycle. This is not something that happens just in the beginning. You're delivering the baby, but then, come on, the product needs to continue. It goes into a maintenance period, right? Okay. So not just that, designers have crazy, crazy ideas, right? They do. They don't? They do. And also, people come over, project managers, product owners, whoever they are, and they ask us to take decisions that we don't feel like we're ready to decide upon, right? So I suck at designing stuff. I'm not going to do it. Come on, call out the designer. I'm not going to do this. So yeah, I'm pretty much defending that design is everyone's job. It doesn't stop in that first period. It doesn't stop on delivering the baby, right? Yes. Okay. Why do we do this? We do have some very specific moments that will happen throughout the cycle, and they can be categorized into these little things. The first one, I would say, okay, so you get something from the designer, you see that it's going to have lousy performance. I cannot do this in a realistic time frame. So come on, please help me out. What am I going to do with this? Second, the winging it moments. And this will happen every time throughout the development phases. The freaking designer forgot to design something, right? So who fills in the gap? Who takes that decision? Should I ask him? Go ask him. He's not here. He's not around. I do have to do this by myself. I don't have the skills. Third, and this is very common also, the near enough complex. You can stop. It's good. This is very common, right? Who haven't experienced that? Come on, it's closer to perfect. Stop. We need to ship it yesterday. And the fourth one is the backend mindset. The I only care about the future. This is also very common, right? Okay, let's fight that. Okay, so main important information here is that you are going to be forced to make those design decisions. This is something that you cannot escape from. And understanding and getting basic design skills within your own development skills doesn't make you a designer. The fact that you know what happens before those design decisions will just help you to get better at what you do. So you're pretty much in the end of the line, right? You get the screen already designed. Yeah? So what happens before that? Someone had to deal with this, the empty screen, and I see this is all misaligned. Let me check if I can solve that out. It's just this. Full screen not working properly. Yeah, that's perfect now. Okay. Is the blank screen scary? Well, no, not really. Not for someone like me who designs applications every day. It's just the most exciting part of the job. So, before we're getting to that part, something happens before. And there's clearly a phase of user experience and then a phase of user interface. It doesn't mean that it's made by different people, but somehow let's see that it should have a kind of a frontier in it. So what I'm really telling you is that, okay, what you get is design, but this ugly little thing that was somewhere before we're getting to that beautiful screen is also design, okay? So let's see how the thing goes. It seems tricky, but the idea is that design decisions don't stop there in the user interface and user experience phases. They continue. So let's go with user experience first, my favorite one. Okay. So when I get called by a customer to do an application from scratch or redesigning an application that already exists, what I usually do first is sit with the business. So there's probably a kickoff meeting where they invite everyone within the company that they want to showcase the wonderful work that they will be doing. And then there's us, probably some key users in the room. Sounds familiar? Yeah. Okay. This is actually a very, very important phase. This is where you'll get the business goals and where you really understand what will make this product successful from the business point of view. It doesn't mean that they'll get you a recipe for success. No, that's not the business going to give you that. What they will do is, with you'll try to get them to establish very, very clear goals for the project you're at, okay? You'll get to learn about the business, and if it's satellites, That's a pretty cool thing, right? If it's banking, it's cool too. Not so cool. You'll get to interview the main stakeholders. They will be in the room. If they're not be in the room, you'll call them off and make some informal interviews to get information from them. Also, a very interesting thing, there's always a way in which people do things. It can be an existing application, or if you're creating an application from scratch, it can be that people are doing the process that they need to do with the new application on paper or on a spreadsheet or something like that. People already do that task. So what you're going to do with the new application is to remove that person from using what they usually use, the spreadsheet or the sheet of paper or whatever, and put them, of course, using the new application. Okay. If you get lucky, you'll get analytics too. Okay. Not always the case. You'll have to fight for data. And you'll try to understand the different personas and prepare for the next phase, which is who uses this or who will use this? And that's a very important question. And then you'll get to the most interesting part of the process for a UXer, okay? You're gonna meet the users. You're not going to invite them over to the meeting room. Don't go with that. Even if this is a business to employee application and the user is actually in the building, so it's very easy to call him. Just come to the meeting room. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. Because their bosses are sitting next to them. And the thing is, people are not very good in saying what they do. It's better for you to see with your own eyes, okay? David Travis usually says that people are unreliable witnesses. And they are. The thing is, if you imagine that the fact is the users are in fact in the building, a different floor, you just go there and you capture much more than they'll ever say to you, okay? Okay, so golden rule here, go where users are, take the team, perform interviews. First of all, observe. That will be the most powerful tool. You can ask them if this is an existing application to do their jobs as they usually do. And you'll get to see very interesting things. Like, for instance, do they need to write something on paper while they're using the application? Maybe we need to include some feature that will prevent them from doing that. Are they opening applications in different tabs to support their work? So there's a bunch of things you can only You cannot guess, you can only see them doing, okay? So after that, capture the findings, meet with the stakeholders again, try to understand what is really a user need and what is a user wish list, because you will get users that will have tons of wishes to communicate, and you need to differentiate what's going to be in scope of the new application and what's not, what is merely a user wish, right? And you'll fine tune. And this is where the application, the thing is running away from me again. And this is the moment where you really sit down at the desk. You haven't done this before, so you've been with the business, you've been with the users, you haven't really sit down to face that empty screen, okay? The thing is, this is not actually an empty screen anymore. You probably at this phase already made some mind mapping, discuss on a whiteboard with the business some information architecture ideas, did some card sorting activities. There's a lot of things that get you through this and help you with that blank screen. So this is the moment where you're going to try to communicate what you've learned so far. And you can do that. I'm sure you've heard of low fidelity versus high fidelity, and what should we do first? Should we go straight to high fidelity and do something that it's already very final and close to what will be in the end, or should do this sketchy and ugly look of a low fidelity mockup? Well, I would say go sketchy first. Invest in showing off the feature, understanding if this is really where you're trying to go with the business and with users. And then only when you have a shot on target is when you move to high fidelity, okay? So, fire your first shot. You're gonna capture ideas, you'll have information architecture already sketched up, and maybe you have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen in that application. The thing is, what you have so far is most of the job, okay? And to get it right, I'm gonna go through a list of very generic rules. They were put together by the user experience gurus. So the Nielsen's heuristics, some of you have already heard about it. But the fact is, abide by the principles, stay next to the rules, but really use your conventions right, as we heard, some of us heard this morning. So yeah, let's get to quickly go through these 10 heuristics, Nielsen's heuristics, on how the screen should be put together. And one of the things is, well, let users know what's going on. This is very important. So if it's loading, if you have more information that you can provide to the user, don't leave him guessing how long it will take in this example, right? Second, let's use examples from the real world. So let's use our conventions wisely. If it's related to foldering and organizing informations, why don't we use that image? That can be cool. That can be very clear to understand, right? More than that, give users a sense of control. They need to understand at every moment that they'll have a way to get out. Don't make them just use the back button of the browser, okay? Give them opportunities to get out, to cancel, to undo the things that they did. More consistency and standards. So again, the conventions, the dreadful hamburger menu that we already know what it means, right? Yeah? No, we don't. We don't know what's inside, right? But it does stand for one thing. We do know that there's more stuff. So let's not try to put even more awkward buttons in the same place. Let's use them wisely. Okay, error prevention. Again, the idea that the user needs to be in control, now related to errors, okay? So let's try to, in destructive actions, give a way to go back. Someone this morning was talking about killing all models or pop-ups also. So when we're talking about this kind of destructive action, let's be a pain in the ass, okay? One very interesting one, recognition rather than recall. The user doesn't remember things. Don't trust on that, okay? That's a misconception. The user visits thousands of websites, uses lots of applications. They will not remember how they got there. So it needs to be something that you look and understand immediately, not that you remember. You will get people that will tell you, users will learn. Maybe they won't. They don't care enough. They won't invest the time to learn, okay? That's a good argument to use. That's an error. Flexibility and efficiency of use. Okay, so don't be annoying for efficient users. Don't say things like load 100 more users. That's boring. Give me what I want and give me now, okay? Don't make experienced users not to have faster ways to get to a situation. That's very important. They will lose patience and they will go away. 8, aesthetic and minimalistic design. So this can be an example for several good rules for user experience, but here goes a very frequent one in which we get an answer. You cannot do that, a simple global search, because we need to retrieve data from different databases, and that makes it difficult. And we're like, oh, really? Come on, please make my life easier. 9, help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. Again, dreadful errors that will happen once and again. The undo button, the do not remove this file thing. And 10, I'm sure this is the boring part of the thing, so it's over, it's number 10. Help and documentation. Okay, so we're over the help pages on websites. Please tell me yes. Please, we're over that, okay? We're gonna give users help when they need it, in context. And we're not going to hide it. That's not really a good example, by the way. If it's important enough, we're not gonna hide it in tooltips. We're gonna show it, because if it's real help, it has to be visible, right? If it's not, we're gonna ditch it. So, thing is, you know your heuristics, you did pretty good job at business analysis, a pretty good job at user research, and you started sketching out those low fidelity mockups. So, you did something well. Now, let's see if you did it really well, and you won't do it. First thing, you will fail, and you will fail every time. Get your work in front of users. Don't do demos to users. Make them experience your work. Do real usability testing, okay? Sending out videos or doing sessions with a bunch of users sitting like you guys are today, and me showcasing and showing a happy path and everything goes right and people clap, and yeah, that's not really testing, okay? So make them use your system, prepare them, move your things to InVision and do the hotspots, and people will click and experience. And your stakeholders will tell you, why are you doing this? Users, I mean, why? They're stupid. They don't know what they're doing. This is very common. Or, I want this to be confidential. Please don't show it. This is very common as well. I actually have a list of all the arguments that they use, because I had to show to my team that all of them could be easily overcome with good reasoning. And good reasoning, and if they don't get it, take the business with you, make them shut their mouths while the test is happening, and see real people using the screen. And the fact is, at this moment, you have low fidelity, right? Black and white, shades of gray, ugly. It's ugly. And your business people will tell you, oh, now it's ugly. Just a sec. Okay, we're back. So it's ugly, black and white, right? They will tell you, They won't understand. They will see black and white stuff and they won't understand. The thing is, you do explain what you're doing to users. This is something we're trying out. This is not how the application will look. And the fact is that here, it will help you if you don't have color and if you do that rough sketch kind of thing. Even doing paper prototyping can work with users. This is crazy, but it does. Okay? They will understand that this is work in progress. Also, if, for instance, you're working for a business-to-employee or business-to-business application, those users that will help you in this phase, that will be helping to test the system, will be your main defenders throughout the way, which is very interesting. So what do you do to prepare for the tests? You can do two things, or you do prepare specific tasks for them to do on screen, right? Or you put them on exploratory mode. So there's two ways to do that, and you have to define it according to the objective of your work, okay? If you want, for instance, to find out if a new feature has the right discoverability, you probably leave them on exploratory mode, trying to find what you got, okay? But this is a long story. Of course, there will be the case in which your stakeholders will tell you, don't. I don't want usability testing. I want this pretty much among ourselves. What we're doing here, I don't know. They'll have good reasons. They won't be good reasons, but okay. So you do something called always testing. And that means that someone next to you, someone you find on the hallway, that's the concept, will help you test. If you cannot do the real thing, you do the thing that is close enough. Actually, it's not close enough, but it will help you to find out some of the things you can be improving. Of course, the results are not as good as they should be, but if nothing else, let's do that. So I was saying we're crazy. We're crazy because we go to customers and we do this on a very tight timeline. Why do we do this? We don't take months delivering a project, a UX UI project, a design project to the development teams. We take weeks, sometimes as crazy as 2 weeks. We do the whole thing in 2 weeks, the UX and UI part. Are we designing entire applications? Of course not. We're designing for the top main user stories, and we're making sure that inside the customer organization, there will be someone that will continue our work. Okay? Because our idea is to go there and enable people and show them this process, how we do the thing, for them to continue. So again, we're delivering the baby, we're not seeing him grow, but hopefully we left there someone that can continue the work. And if this is 2 weeks, we just spent roughly almost 7-8 days in this process. It's kind of crazy, right? So we haven't moved to the part of user interface, and we already spent most of the time. Yeah. The idea is that the story is there, and now we're going to make it sound and solid with the brand, okay? So let's go to this part. So what we did before was design, and we're completing it. So design is really form and function. We did the function. Let's go to the form. What we usually do, although most of us are experienced UXers and UI people, so we do both things, is that in the same project, it's not the same person doing the UX and doing the UI. It's a group of 2 people, because we do understand that it will be richer to have someone define what we do, okay? So it gets to this part, and it's never closed. So the UI person can define what we did, okay? Again, we do doing things in tight timelines and having to leave after this work and having to leave the customer with solid work means that we're not in the business of receiving a briefing or doing a kickoff session and only talking to the customer in the end, presenting our work. That's not how it goes, okay? We're in constant contact with the customer, with the stakeholders. No final presentation is a surprise. There are no surprises in the end, okay? So there's regular checkpoints in which you show progress. If there's surprises at the end, they won't be good surprises. So let's go and make it pretty. Let's implement the experience in high fidelity. Let's go to images, to fonts, to using wisely the color of the brand, etc. And here again, as I did with heuristics, some basic rules, okay? And there's an old book that's all non-designers and all designers should read. It's from a lady called Robin Williams. And she talks about the CRAP rules. So the first one is C for contrast. How you can play with contrast, not contrast merely on color, but in other values as well, and really compose your interface using that. After contrast, repetition. So the repetition of elements will compose the screen in a way that is visually in place, calm. Alignment. So you'll see that it's good for readability, immediate comprehension of the content, for all sorts of things. Okay, so align things is really makes you remember the user control. It really makes you control the screen in a very interesting way. And the CRAP rules ends with proximity. So things that make sense together should be together. Okay, so look at your content, use it wisely, and use it together where it makes sense to be together. Okay, time's running out. I'm going to go through some basic rules and end up with some slides that are pretty much some takeaways or some tips, and then I'll share the slides and you can go through them in more detail. Things we must consider here. So typography. Typography is not a detail. It really can make the difference in your screen. And you need to take a look at how it will communicate and reinforce the experience that you want to have. Okay? So use it wisely. Also, if you're handling numbers, please be careful with understanding large amount of data, okay? Don't make users have to make effort to interpret this kind of data. Also, still related to typography, there's 2 important concepts, which is legibility and readability. Legibility will say, if you look at the screen, how easy can you understand the information that is there? The information like distinguish the font itself, the content that is there. Readability, it's how easy you can apprehend the content that is there, okay? So, also, be aware that your screen escapes. Tends to happen. And things like typography can really affect your performance. So I'm sure most of you already know that. Yeah, that's Frontend. Okay. So the challenge here in the user interface phase is you really need to get into the brand universe and bring whatever is not just color, but imagery from the customer and from the experience. Imagine if you're doing, even if you're doing a simple internal application, you really need to dive into the brand's universe, understand what they're doing at website, talk to the marketing team, probably get the brand guidelines, of course, if you don't really want your work to be vetted. But really try to understand what's the tone of the brand, what kind of imagery are they using, right? And here it's already your comfort zone, so you do need to prepare future work with maybe a design system, creating a, we do create very often what we call the lifestyle guide. It allows customers to go and fetch snippets of code to use in all their applications, because the idea is, again, to go there, to leave them all with all the tools that they'll need to continue work, right, by their own. And yes, that's the idea. So getting the screen together is really about getting to know what works and what doesn't by really being able to do the thing right. So user experience is not a detail, okay? It's solid work. And it doesn't happen without users. And it doesn't happen through demos. And it doesn't happen with big meetings with all the right people. They are not the right people. The right people are not in the meetings. And design doesn't happen sitting at your desk. If you guys, front-enders, look at the designer's desk and see them seated there all the time, there's just a bit of the process going on there. There will be times in which the desks should be empty. And if they're not, that's a red flag. Design doesn't happen at the desk, not merely at the desk, right? Okay. And again, they will not be the ones making all the design decisions. You will get to make design decisions. You will get to face these moments. And they will happen so many times. That one you already know by heart, I know. Oh, come on, don't give me this to build. I don't have time for this. Let's negotiate. There's certainly not one good way to do things. There are several good ways. Call the designer. Discuss that. Second, the designer is not around. You'll have to wing it. You'll have to make a good decision. The thing is it going to be based on what you think is right? Or are you going after the real information, the user research, the business analysis, what was done before? Go after it. Don't sit at the desk. The near enough context is just don't step away from a fight. It's not good yet. No, this is nothing like the designer did it. Now you know the designer did it for a reason. It was not a blind shot, so let's respect that. Let's fight for that. Let's make it pixel perfect. All the design gods will be happy, right? And the one that will make you scream and yell and punch and whatever you have to do. It works, then it's done. Are we going to be in that mediocre part all along? No. This is a fight that will be happening in all companies, I think. The time constraints, the budget constraints, all the constraints in the world that project managers have. And if we don't work together, front-enders and designers, if we're not pushing throughout the cycle, even after we're supposed to not interfere. We should be interfering and fighting back on these moments. Okay, so if it works, it does. Will it be adopted by users? We don't know, but it works. So push for what the designer did. Hopefully you'll be in good hands, and hopefully we will work a lot together and really not work in silos, as someone was saying this morning, right? Let's not make this in silos, and let's fight back to solve all these situations. So this is the goodie parts. I'm gonna just go through it very, very fast. So I have here ways to find fonts and colors, okay, interesting ways. To create color palettes, okay. To get inspired. So ideas generate ideas, nothing comes from nothing, right? Find what you need, like personas, images, that kind of thing. And of course it is running out, but the time is running out. This is like user experience for the time running out. So the screen also gets away. So discover the right font, icons, and tools. Everyone ends with tools, right? Right now we're doing, let's go here. It's very interesting. Right now we're doing Sketch. We're not doing Craft anymore. We're using the inspect mode on InVision. But we're experiencing Figma as well, as everyone's doing, I think. So this will change. The tools will change, but the basics of it will remain the same. We'll still need to work together. We're still going to back up our work with user research, business analysis, and the craziness of doing applications in crazy timelines. Fighting the good fight. So thank you all. If you have your questions, maybe from the tool. Yeah?
That was wonderful, thank you. Big round of applause. We have a few questions on Slido. I've got a question. Actually, I've got loads, but just to sort of concatenate it a bit. Do you find that stakeholders have an opinion on the kind of the UX and UI of stuff, or like, and then have problems with the prioritization when integrating into like agile sprints? Do you ever have that problem, and how do you get over that?
I heard two questions there. It's okay. So first one, I believe, was related to, do stakeholders have a say on what's UX UI, right? Of course they do. You're paying the bill. The thing is, you need to carefully balance your application between business goals and user needs. And I said business goals, not business crazy wishes, or I once had a situation in which my customer traveled 50 kilometers just to show me the right tone of orange that he wanted. Huh, really? I can get you that tone of orange. I have no problems with that. I don't fight on that, not that fight. Of course, they do have a saying. But when you see that that saying is damaging the experience that you want to deliver to the users, you'll have to show him that that's not the right call. How do you show that? You show that through inviting him probably to usability testing that can work. Don't wait for the application to fail in the future in 3 months. That's not a good strategy. Believe me, you will be to blame, okay? So do that in a prevention mode. So if is not the type of going to those usability testings and he's like the tough guy that wants numbers, try to get numbers, okay? Back up your strategy with data. And always know how to distinguish between the good fight and the orange fight. I mean, it won't worth it for you to discuss an orange. It's like, and we do enter very commonly on that I like it, I don't like it mode. You just switch off, maybe make some notes. The guy likes this kind of orange, but that's not a fight worth fighting. I mean, save your energies, right? Okay. If you see that user adoption is really in some way being damaged by a decision made by the business, now you need to gather everyone and really try to prove him wrong. Okay. So the second one was about the agile process and getting designers throughout the process, probably.
Getting your design changes, for example, into the development sprints.
You mean participating throughout, or getting it done?
Maybe it's the project manager's role.
Okay, that's the project manager's role, exactly. You mean improvements that we want to push into development, and they're always being pushed back because there's a new feature coming. Okay. So again, you need to show that this is not some emotional attachment, and that is something that we were accused many times, that we're too attached to the design that we present. We shouldn't be attached. We're not attached. If there's something we're attached to, is will it work for the users or not? Right? So first question you do to yourself is, am I doing this for the right reason? Am I just doing this because Airbnb is doing it? Or am I doing it because context and user research has proved that is the right thing to do in this case? Okay. So,
got loads of questions.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And very little time, so I'm just going to rush through a few. Top question. Will the presentation be made available online?
Yes.
Good. I'm pleased about that. Someone has said how to get to the end of the maze. Now, I noticed that as well. The icon for the maze was impossible. You couldn't actually get to the end of it, which was quite amusing. Yeah. Check it out. Or maybe I'm stupid and I couldn't see it.
You do know that before sharing the presentation, I'm gonna look at the freaking maze and try to correct them. You don't say that to the perfectionist designer. I will work that out.
And then, what else have we got? How to deal with, I can't imagine. I'm not sure if we have enough time because we've got another session coming in immediately. But you're going to be around, so anyone can come and ask you a few questions, I can imagine. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Please do.